Hello, welcome to a review of the LT120 by Carrera. This model is a linear turntable, linear tracking. So essentially, instead of swinging, the tone arm is going to be motorized and move itself back and forth with a computer control that follows the track, gets to the end of the record, and then will return itself. It also has the ability to select different tracks or program in a play order if you wanted to play in a specific set of tracks. To be completely honest, so unfortunately, I have tried 3 different records, and that feature doesn't seem to be working for me right now. So I've tried cleaning the pickup lens and not sure if that's an issue with my machine. I have replaced the stylus, so I don't know if possibly that had something to do with it. But the automatic functions still work, and I generally always tend to just listen from the beginning to the end of a album, so it's not a showstopper for me personally. But I've got a power control over here on the left. And then we've got play, pause, the stop function, cue forward, cue backwards. There is a speed selector, but it does automatically pick the speed based on the size of the record if you choose. There is normally a 45 adapter, but that one also seems to be missing from my kit. But it will sense the size of the record, so for a 7-inch, it will play at 45. For a 12-inch, it will play at 33 1/3. There's a repeat function, so it will just continue to play the record over and over. There is a memory button so that you can program in the track order that you'd like. There's also a selector switch for the sensitivity of the track reader and the tone arm. Unfortunately, again, no matter what section or what selection I make, it's still not picking it up. But again, the automatic functions work. So normally for me, I just pop on a record and then hit the play button. She finds the first track and then sets itself down to begin playing. And sound-wise, it sounds pretty good. The research I was able to do on the internet says that this is same as a vector research model that's available, but I haven't found much, if any, information about Carrera themselves, whether this was a rebranding or if they had OEM manufactured or who they even are. But the reason we're even talking about it is this is actually a pretty good performing little turntable, and they're relatively cheap when you see them pop up on eBay. They're not the most common thing, but I have seen them out there. Obviously, I picked this one up off of eBay. It is a belt drive machine. The linear tracking also appears to be a belt drive, but it has worked fine. I have not had to replace any of the belts. The speeds seem to be acceptable, and there's very little, if any, noticeable wow and flutter. So, again, performance-wise, I'm pretty pleased with it. But let's pretend the track working was functioning, the track programming was functioning, and normally you would just pick a number, then you hit the memory button to enter it into memory, pick your next track that you'd like, enter that into memory. So in this case, I've selected 2, 4, and 6, and there we go. Once they're lit up solid, they're locked into memory, and then just hit the play button. Now, like I said, for mine, it just doesn't seem to find any tracks. And I've found a few different albums thinking that possibly it was just having a hard time reading one in specific, but it's not. And unfortunately, if you think it's because the lid's open, that's not it either. Tried it both ways. I know I have a pretty bright light on it right now, but it's in the darker corner, so I thought you'd want to see it a little bit better. But it does the same thing, just skims the whole album and then says, nope, can't find any. Normally, you'd also have direct access, so say you only wanted to play a single track, you could just hit that button and then hit play, and it will go off and look for it. But, as I mentioned, not so much with this one. But, again, the automatic start and stop works, which is all I'd ever want from it anyways. Again, the sound is actually quite good. I was pleasantly surprised for what it is. I was thinking, don't get your hopes up too high. I would play you a sample, but I honestly feel with the YouTube compression, it's not going to do it any justice anyway. I do have it through a tube funnel preamp, but I don't think that's making a huge difference either. Most tube amps today are just going to be the pre-buffer side, so not a lot of sound coloring, but that's, I'll leave that up for debate about people who know a little bit more about it than I do. But all in all, like I said, the LT120 I've found to be a very good, reliable unit. This one I've had for several years, and there's been times it's sat out of action. I do have other linear turntables that I enjoy, so this gets sometimes rotated in and out, but I just pulled it back out and hooked it up. I think it looks nice. I believe the black finish on it is pretty nifty, and the lid on it is smoked all through the center here. There's just a dark section in the back to hide the drive mechanism. I've had several different records that have quite a few strange run-out sections, some of them nearly half the album. Pink Floyd's Division Bell and Momentary Lapse of Reason are a couple of good examples. No problem. Picked right up on them, and it did not go all the way to the label before it pulled it back up. It did realize that it was done playing music. So again, fairly good behavior. If you want to pause it, you can do that, and then you can move the head around manually. So theoretically, I could still pretend to have a track search, but just hit pause, move it to where you'd like it, then hit play again, and it'll drop the head back down. The tracking force on this one is actually very, very light. It's probably a gram. But overall, I haven't had too much trouble with skipping or skating, so I think whatever it's set at is actually working correctly, and that is correct for the cartridge that's available. I personally ordered my replacement stylus from LP Gear, but was not able to get that one to fit. I had found another one on eBay that was just basically from a random person in Iowa, and that one actually worked good, so that's what I have in there. The LP Gear one didn't fit. I've seen some people on the internet say that cartridge may have been JB welded into place, but mine had just snapped right out. The problem I have is it fit, but the LP Gear one did not latch back into place, so it took me a minute to figure out what was even going wrong, but enough trial and error, and when the other one worked, I knew it was onto something. But that's about all I can say about it. But if you do see one and you're not looking for a amazing, super high-end machine, this might be something for you to consider, because like I say, it does perform well, and the sound on it's quite good. The leads are permanently connected, so there's two RCAs and a ground strap, as well as 110 volt power. Those are all permanently affixed to the machine. Not incredibly long, but not incredibly short either, so very manageable. But like I say, that's about all I can think to say about it at this point. It really has been a pretty durable little unit. I just pop a record on, fire it up, and hit play, and that's all I needed to do, and that seems to work just fine. So I think I mentioned it, but the speed sensing is based on the side of the record, but you can override it. There is a repeat function, and then the memory programming. So that's about it for the feature side of it, but it's more than enough for your run-of-the-mill linear tracking player. So that's, I guess, about all I get to say right now. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy your day.